That kind of magic was lost a long time ago. Blair felt her stomach drop. So I'm stuck here. Cassian didn't answer, which was answer enough. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The hut door opened abruptly, and a man entered. He was almost as tall as Cassian, but had a completely different energy. Messy brown hair, a wide smile, and eyes that sparkled with humor. Cassian, I heard you brought a human. I had to see this with my own. He stopped when his eyes met Blair's. Wow, okay, she's blonde. We haven't had a blonde in centuries. Blair frowned. Seriously, that's your first observation? The man laughed. I like her. She's got spunk. He extended his hand. I'm Tristan, beta of this pack, and, more importantly, the only person here with a sense of humor. Blair hesitantly shook his hand. Blair. Blair, Tristan repeated, as if testing the name. Strange name. Where are you from? The future, she replied, dryly.
Tristan blinked, then looked at Cassian. Is she delusional? No, Cassian replied, returning his attention to the maps. She came through the Veilstone. Tristan's smile vanished instantly. You're serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Tristan let out a low whistle. That's big. The stone hasn't been activated in... I know, Cassian cut him off. Tristan looked between Cassian and Blair, processing. Then the smile returned, but there was something darker about it now. Well, this is going to be interesting. Interesting how? Blair asked, not liking his tone. Interesting as in, you just dropped into the middle of a territorial war, surrounded by creatures who don't trust humans, and led by an alpha who has a reputation for being absolutely ruthless with intruders.
Blair looked at Cassian. Ruthless? Cassian didn't take his eyes off the map. Tristan exaggerates. I really don't exaggerate, Tristan muttered to Blair, but loud enough for Cassian to hear. Blair felt that familiar panic rising again. Okay, so what happens to me now? Cassian finally looked at her. You stay. Stay? Just stay? You have no choice. You're trapped here, and if I let you wander off alone, you'll die in less than a day. How comforting. I'm not here to comfort you. Tristan cleared his throat. What our dear Alpha is trying to say in a very indelicate way is that you are under the pack's protection now, at least until we figure out how to send you back. And if you don't figure it out? Blair asked, her voice smaller than she would have liked. Silence. Tristan broke the tense atmosphere with a slap on Blair's back that almost made her choke. Then you'll learn to survive here. It'll be fun. I can teach you how to hunt, how to fight. She won't fight, Cassian interrupted, his voice sharp. She's human, weak. She'll stay inside the camp, where it's safe. Blair felt something hot ignite in her chest. Anger. Weak? Yes. Look, I may not be a superpowered werewolf, but I'm not weak. Cassian looked at her with that impassive expression. You ran from a wolf and fell. Because it was a giant wolf. Exactly. You're weak. Blair stood up, her fists clenched. You're an asshole. Tristan laughed. Oh, I definitely like her. Cassian didn't move, but there was something dangerous in his eyes now. Watch what you say, human. Or what? You're going to devour me? The air in the hut changed. It became heavier, more tense. Blair could feel it on her skin, like static electricity. Cassian took a step towards her, slow and deliberate. You don't understand where you are. You don't understand what we are. And you definitely don't understand the danger you're in by speaking to me like that. Blair raised her chin, even as her heart pounded wildly. Then explain it to me. They stood there, looking at each other, the tension practically vibrating between them. It was Tristan who broke the silence, stepping between them. Okay, how about we give everyone a moment to calm down? Blair, how about I show you where you'll be staying? Blair didn't take her eyes off Cassian for a long moment. Then, finally, she backed down. Fine. She turned and left the hut, Tristan following quickly. Cassian was left alone, his hands resting on the table, breathing controlled. Troublesome, he muttered to himself. But as he looked at the door she had exited, he couldn't ignore the strange feeling in his chest. Tristan led Blair through the camp, pointing things out as they walked. That's the communal kitchen. Yes, we cook. No, we don't just eat raw meat. That's the training area. You'll want to stay away from there, especially in the morning, when the younger ones are practicing. They tend to get a little wild. Blair was barely listening. Her mind was still in the hut, on the way Cassian had looked at her, as if she were an annoying puzzle he couldn't solve.
Hey. Tristan snapped his fingers in front of her face. Are you with me? Sorry. It's just a lot. Tristan gave a gentle smile. I know. But look, you'll be fine. Cassian can be an ass, but he doesn't let anything happen to the people under his protection. He called me weak. Well, compared to us, you kinda are. No offense. Offense taken. Tristan laughed. You're funny. I didn't expect that. They stopped in front of a small hut at the edge of the camp. It was simple, but it seemed sturdy. This is yours, Tristan said, opening the door. It's not luxurious, but it's warm and dry. It has a bed, some blankets, and... Wait, Tristan interrupted him, entering. This is mine? Like, just mine? Yes? Blair looked around the small space. It was basically a room, but it was hers. She didn't have to share with anyone, didn't have to negotiate closet space or bathroom schedules. This is actually really nice, actually. Tristan smiled. See? Not everything is bad. Blair sat on the bed. It was hard, but comfortable enough. She can make this work. So, she said, looking at Tristan, tell me the truth. What's my chance of surviving here? Tristan leaned against the doorframe, considering. Honestly, it depends on you. How helpful? What I mean is, if you follow the rules, don't cause trouble, and let Cassian protect you, you'll probably be fine. And if I don't want to let Cassian protect me? Tristan gave a short laugh. Then you're even more troublesome than I thought. He paused. Look, Cassian can be tough, but he's like that for a reason. He's lost a lot of people. And when you're alpha, every loss weighs on you differently. Blair felt something stir in her chest. Curiosity. What happened? It's not my story to tell, Tristan said softly. But just try not to judge him too quickly. He has his reasons. Before Blair could respond, a howl echoed through the forest. Loud, long, and terrifying. Tristan straightened immediately, all trace of humor gone from his face. What was that? Blair asked, her heart racing. Alert, Tristan said, already moving towards the door. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't come out no matter what. Wait, what? But he was already gone. Blair was left alone in the hut, the sound of the howl still echoing in her ears. And for the first time since arriving in this strange and dangerous world, she realized something. She was absolutely terrified. Blair didn't lock the door, not because she was brave, but because the idea of being trapped inside a wooden box while something potentially deadly lurked outside seemed even worse than seeing the danger coming. She stood in the doorway, watching the camp transform into organized chaos. Werewolves poured out from all directions. Some were already shifting as they ran, their bodies contorting in ways that made Blair's stomach churn. Others shouted orders, grabbed weapons, formed groups. And then she saw him. Cassian. He was at the center of it all, absolutely motionless amidst the chaos. His golden eyes glowed in the dim twilight, and there was an intensity about him that made the air around him feel heavier. He wasn't shouting orders like the others. He didn't need to. Just his presence commanded absolute attention. He looked directly at Blair across the camp. Even from a distance, she felt the weight of that gaze. There was a warning in it. Stay where you are. Blair, being Blair, took a step out of the hut. Cassian's expression darkened. But before either of them could do anything else, another figure appeared, a woman. She was tall, with fiery red hair that fell in waves to her waist, and green eyes that practically glowed. She moved with a predatory grace until she stopped beside Cassian, placing a hand on his arm in a familiar way. Very familiar. Cassian. Her voice was soft but carried authority. It's the Shadow Blood. They've crossed the southern border. Cassian nodded, his attention finally leaving Blair. How many? At least a dozen. Maybe more. They want war. Or they want to get your attention. The woman tilted her head. You know how Darius is. The name seemed to cause a reaction in Cassian. His jaw tightened, and his eyes darkened even further. Gather the elite group. We finish this today. The woman smiled. It was a dangerous smile. With pleasure. She turned to leave, but then her eyes met Blair's. For a moment, the two women just looked at each other. There was something appraising in the redhead's gaze, and maybe curiosity. Who's the human? She asked, without taking her eyes off Blair. No one, Cassian replied quickly. She's not your concern. Maeve raised an eyebrow. A human in our camp isn't my concern? Interesting. Maeve. Cassian's voice was a warning. Maeve smiled again, but this time there was something sharp about it. As you wish, Alpha. She cast one last look at Blair. "Welcome to the wildlands, human. Try not to die." And then she was gone, shifting into a fiery red-furred wolf in mid-run. Blair stood there, impressed and horrified at the same time. Tristan appeared beside her suddenly, making her jump. "Didn't I tell you to stay inside?" "You did. I'm not good at following orders. I noticed. You will want to get inside now. When they go out to fight, it's not pretty." "Who are the Shadowblood?" Tristan hesitated. "Another pack. Rivals. They and the Black Moon have history." "What kind of history?" "The kind that ends in blood." Blair felt a shiver. "And Cassian is going to fight them?" "It's what alphas do." Tristan looked at her with a strange expression. "Why? Are you worried about him?" "No, I just met him. It would be weird if he died right away." Tristan chuckled. "Cassian doesn't die easily, believe me." There was another howl, but this time it was different. It was a call. Cassian transformed. Blair had never seen anything like it. One moment he was there, human and intimidating. The next, a massive wolf stood in his place. But it wasn't like the other wolves. He was bigger, darker. His fur was a black so deep it seemed to absorb the light around it. And his eyes remained golden, glowing like embers. He was absolutely terrifying. And somehow, magnificent. The wolf looked at her one last time, and then he ran, the pack following him like shadows. In seconds, the camp was empty. Only a few younger and older members remained, along with Blair and Tristan. "So," Blair said in the silence that followed, "what do we do now?" Tristan sighed. "We wait and hope they come back alive." The hours dragged on slowly. Blair tried to stay in the hut, but anxiety kept her restless. She went out, walked around the empty camp, tried not to think about the fact that she was stuck in the 18th century, surrounded by warring werewolves. Tristan found her by the communal fire, poking the embers aimlessly. "You're not going to be able to sleep, are you?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Able to? No. Should I? Probably." He chuckled. "You're strange, in a good way." "Thanks, I guess." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the fire dance. "Can I ask you a question?" Blair finally said. "Sure." "Why does everyone here act like humans are aliens? I mean, do you never interact with humans?" Tristan grew serious. "Not anymore. We used to, a long time ago, but things changed. There were incidents." "What kind of incidents?" "The kind that involves hunters, bonfires, and a lot of fear. Humans are afraid of what they don't understand, and when humans are afraid, they destroy." Blair swallowed hard. "But not all humans are like that." "We know, but it's hard to trust when you've lost so many." He poked the fire with a stick. "Cassian lost more than most. His parents were killed by hunters when he was 15. He saw it." "God." "Yeah. So when he acts like an overprotective jerk, it's because he's seen what happens when we let our guard down." Blair stared at the fire, processing. Suddenly, the way Cassian had treated me made more sense. "That's heavy," she murmured. "Welcome to our world." A sound cut through the night. Footsteps. Many of them.
Tristan stood up immediately, tense. And then they appeared. Wolves emerging from the darkness of the forest, returning to the camp. Blair looked for one in particular. The big black wolf with golden eyes. He was there, in front, but something was wrong. He was limping. Blair stood up before she even thought, her feet carrying her towards him. "Blair, wait!" Tristan tried to hold her back, but she was already running. Cassian shifted back as she approached, and Blair stopped abruptly. He was covered in blood. He had deep cuts on his chest and arms, and a nasty gash on his side that was clearly from claws. "You're bleeding," she said, stupidly. "I noticed," Cassian replied, his voice strained with pain. "You need help." "I heal fast." "That's not fast enough." Blair didn't know where the anger came from, or the concern, but it was there, burning in her chest. Cassian looked at her with those golden eyes, and there was something different in them now. Surprise, maybe. "Why do you care?" he asked softly. Blair opened her mouth, closed it. I don't know, but someone needs to take care of you because you clearly don't take care of yourself." Tristan appeared beside them.